All right, welcome to our second forum. Good morning, everybody. For anyone who may not know me, I'm Angela Wayner, the vice president and inability to speak of our Congregation Council. So we're going to start off today with a little side topic about our endowment. So I'm going to turn the microphone over to Kate so she can come and update us.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Kate Byrne. I am the new treasurer at CLC. I always lose my name tag, so I'm sorry. If you forget my name, come up and ask me. Oh. We were too slow. Okay. All right, so this morning I'm talking to you a little bit about our endowment fund. So this is something that has kind of been resurrected into the church. This is something that started before the pandemic, and we needed to accrue a certain amount of funds before we could participate in the endowment fund. And we are excited to announce that we have reached that threshold, so we are officially able to invest the funds that we have here. So we have just over $61,000 to invest. And so we're very excited now. We have our endowment fund committee that we are working on assembling to be able to choose how we invest those funds and then ultimately how we spend that money for the congregation. So what I want to talk to you about today is a little bit about how this works, what the endowment fund is, and then how you can participate. So the endowment fund is something that was established to get additional funds for donations. So these are funds that come from members of the congregation, from the community, that we are able to use for purchases or for ministries outside of our regular operating budget. So we do not include the money that comes from these funds into the regular budget. It doesn't have a line item there. But we instead, the endowment fund committee, which consists of myself, 5 other members of the congregation, and then Pastor Tim, will be driving how we spend those funds based on requests that come in from ministries or from members of the congregation to support what they're looking to participate in. So what happens is we get these funds. These come from, as I mentioned, donations. We'll talk about a little bit specifically what kind of donations those can come in as in just a moment. But these come in where we invest those contributions and we only spend the excess of the principal. So basically, we only spend the money that we make off of those investments, leaving that principal to remain there and to continue to grow. So we use these funds to support local, national, or worldwide ministries. We can do leadership development, such as scholarships for seminary. And we do the, as well as, again, these are non-budgeted property upgrades or repairs. So this would not be something that we would put into that budget, but this might be something unforeseen that happens throughout the year, or, again, an upgrade that we decide to do. So the way that it works is those funds go in, we accrue that interest, we take that interest and are able to receive requests for distribution of those by the endowment fund committee, and then we run that as well for approval through the church council, and then those individuals receive those funds. And then we'll also, of course, report on where those funds are going, how much our investments are earning, et cetera. So the type of gifts that can come in, so we have a list over on the left there. This is as simple as earmarking your giving to the endowment fund specifically. So that's something that you can let us know. I believe Heather was going to set up that option on Subsplash so that you're able to, when you do your online giving, you would be able to select the endowment fund to be able to route your donations to. So that's one way that you, of course, can contribute to this. The other way is we are still looking for members of the endowment fund committee. So as I mentioned, we need to have 6 per the bylaws in order to establish this committee and be able to start investing the funds. As of today, I think I have 3.5. I got somebody on the fence, but I'm going to win her over by the end of today. I don't, that's TBD, yeah. So the people that I'm looking for to assist with this, these are not, you do not have to be a financial advisor. You do not have to be financially savvy. Essentially, we're looking for people that are going to help us review the requests that come in for the funds and to help us pray on what would be the right investment opportunity for the payout of these funds for a ministry. So you are not reviewing individual investments, you're not doing analytics, you're not doing any of that kind of thing. You're looking at the requests that are coming in from your family in the congregation and saying, this is the right way to spend this money for Christ Lutheran. So if you are interested in that, we are going to make this as simple as possible. These are limited Zoom meetings that we'll have. We're flexible with your schedule. What was the breakdown, Angela, of these meetings for? 12 meetings over the course of 3 years. So when we say a 3-year commitment, we're really asking you to get together 12 times, maybe an additional email or 2 from me, but we're looking at a real minimal time commitment for something that could be really powerful for the growth of the ministry of the church. If you are interested, my email is here. You can come up and talk to me afterwards today. You can reach out to Pastor, but please let us know. We are looking to vote these individuals in at our congregational meeting next week. So no pressure, but there's a lot of pressure. So if you can get back to me. All right.
Can I speak to this for a second? Tony, can I have my mic on? Hello? Hello, are we sure? Oh, there we go. Yep, can you hear me now? Yep. Isn't it funny how that's become a phrase? Like, I can no longer say that phrase without thinking of, obnoxious. Anyway, I just want to say a quick word about the left-hand side of this, because we don't always get a chance to talk about this, and this is a great opportunity for us. One of the things that the Endowment Fund does for us is it gives us another way for us to support the mission and ministry of this congregation that we love so much that goes on forever. Let me say that again. This is our way to support the mission and ministry of this community that we love so much, that support goes on forever. An endowment by nature does that, right? We invest the principal and we don't touch it. Our bylaws are very clear. That's not touchable by us. And then we use the benefits of that principle, the interest, to do things that are beyond what we do with our operating budget. But one of the things that this opens up to us, too, are these 4 down here actually this one, too, right? Is this becomes a way for us as we are doing our life planning, where we're doing our wills and trusts and things like that, is a chance to have that reflect our own faith and our faith inform that, so that we can write then, we have folks who have, and mine is in process, so that part of our estate planning then is a gift to Christ Lutheran Church that supports ministry. You want to say that word with me? I like this word, forever, right? And so we have the resources and we have people that we can connect us with. There are gift planners with the Synod and other places. If you would like to know more about that, let us know. But again, the great thing about this is that it supports mission and ministry beyond what we do on a daily basis forever. Personal story. I went to seminary because of the gifts to an endowment at my home church. My home church had an endowment that had grown, and they had, actually, we based our endowment structure here on the one that was at my home church, because why create new when you can borrow and steal? So one of the major focuses of that endowment then was supporting education and for the future of the whole church. I was able to go to seminary because of that endowment without debt, without taking out student loans, and it's solely because of people whose faithful giving in that left-hand side had made that possible as a gift to the whole church. And that's one of the things that I'm excited about this for us, too, as we raise up people in our midst who will become the next leaders of the church writ large, right? This is one of the ways that we can then support them with our faithfulness and our generosity. So, I have a personal story that goes along with this, and also the encouragement that the fun part of it is actually this right-hand side, because as Kate said, this is where you get to hear and you get to dream and you get to listen and say, wow, what else could we do? I mean, what a fun discussion that is, right? So if we have a top half and we're looking for a bottom half or 3.5 or whatever it is, this will be a very worthy way to be able to pray and listen for what the Holy Spirit says. Yeah, and now what else? Thanks.
You're so much more persuasive than I am. There's a reason you're in your role and I'm in mine. So does anybody have any questions? Yeah, so she said that she had missed the first part and was wondering what this was about. So we're talking about the launch of the Endowment Fund Committee at Christ Lutheran, and I'd be happy, I know we have a lot to cover today, I'd be happy to talk with you after to kind of get you up to speed. Yes, sir.
Okay, members of this committee, are they prohibited from being on the council at any time, like the financial advisory committee is?
That's a great question. So the question is, are the members of this committee prohibited from being on the financial advisory council? Oh, like the financial advisory committee is. So there's no conflict of interest there. Okay, so we'll check into that. Any other questions? Okay. All right, well, if you think of any after today, or if you are interested, please, I'll be hanging around after today's meeting, so please let me know. And I think now we'll pass it to Heather. We're going to have Angela come and talk to you a little bit of introducing our budget for this year.
All right, so now we're going to begin the official portion of our Congregational Forum here. Okay, so here's our agenda. We are going to start with an opening prayer. Could I possibly rely on a pastoral person to do that for me?
The Lord be with you. Holy God, gracious and mighty, we thank you for gathering us this day, for the gift of golden sunshine, for your Holy Spirit that knits and draws us together and into the future you have in mind for us. Bless our conversation. Bless us with faithfulness, discernment, courage, and wisdom. Speak through our hearts so that we can hear your vision, your dreaming for us, and say, what else and how shall we change lives together? We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you so much. Okay. What's happening at CLC? I think the better question is what is not happening right now at CLC. First of all, we just did our reconciling in Christ. It is official for anybody who was not here for that party. It was wonderful. It's just a great feeling to be able to say that we are welcoming to all. If you've not seen the little statements that are laminated down by where the hymnals are kept, it's got the whole thing outlined, and it's just a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing to be able to say we welcome all of God's people. Ways that we are open to the community. We have recently, I believe, accepted Gamblers Anonymous to meet here. We have, I believe, 2 different AA meetings that meet here. We have the Girl Scouts, we have the Boy Scouts, including the OA. We've got the overnight men's shelter, which we've talked about. Once a year, we do the Lutheran World Relief Packing. You see those banana boxes. Anybody that's been here to help load the truck, you know, we just haul all those boxes that all the local churches have brought to us, and we take that opportunity to share that. We've got the Popcorn Fest. That's been a huge thing for longer than I personally know, but that's one of the great ways that the youth ministry comes together and raises money. We had our Mardi Gras, which if you were not here, we actually also brought together a number of churches. I recognized a lot of people that were not church members that came in, and it was a wonderful celebration. We have our Lenten dinners, we have outdoor worship, and we have the preschool. Do you want to speak more to the preschool? We have the preschool. Sure. This one I don't know much about.
Yeah, our preschool has space for 142 kids. It has grown quite a bit since its beginning back in the 90s. We currently have a staff of 13 people in our preschool. We have 6 teachers, 4 aides, and our director, plus a couple of substitute teachers and lunch aides that are on our payroll of occasional people as well. So it takes a lot to keep this ministry running. And one of the reasons that we are able to offer an affordable preschool to the families of this community is because of the support of this church. The preschool's budget goes almost entirely to pay preschool expenses. Most of it goes to pay the salaries of our teachers and our employees. A small portion of it goes to buy supplies, paper, crayons, goldfish for snacks and things like that. But the church lets them use that space for free. They are a ministry of Christ Lutheran Church, so they do not have to pay for rent or utilities or to use the copier, anything like that. And because of that support of this congregation, we are able to offer that to our community at a much more affordable rate than they may be able to get somewhere else.
I love to tell this story as I am out in you've probably heard me say this before, too bad. As I'm out in the community and I introduce myself, what do you do? And so I work for a church. Which church is that? Christ Lutheran Church across from the high school. Little Lamb Preschool. Oh!
That is very true. It's interesting how a lot of times people will associate it with that. Because we do have a good number of families that go there that are not members, but they still choose to bring their children here, even with the number of preschools that we have in the surrounding areas. And isn't that great? We recently celebrated the 5-year. I was going to say 5, I just want to make sure. The 5th year anniversary of our organ installation. We have all the everyday things that we like to kind of take for granted, but if you look at it, it's wonderful. Our confirmations, our baptisms, weddings, funerals, all the things that we do where we may be touching the lives of members here, but their extended families as well, right? And other people in the community. We know Pastor loves all the babies. Hold on tight because he will walk home with them. Right? One of my favorite stories that I cannot give full credit to, Scott really knows a lot about this, but our new piece that we were able to acquire. Long story short, there's a church in Chicago, and they are taking it down, and they are building it into, is it affordable housing, Section 8 housing? So the lower part of it, like the basement part, is going to be their church, and everything above that is going to be affordable housing. So isn't that impactful? And they didn't have room for this, and so we have it. But every time I look at it, I look beyond the beauty of it and think of the message behind that. And isn't that wonderful that we can tell that story? Vacation Bible School, I don't even know that that's a picture of it, but I don't think so. But I see Erica. Think about the Vacation Bible School, right? That's another great outreach that we do. And so there's so much more. There's so much more. I think everybody probably has a different story about something that we do here, and yeah. All right. So what he was saying is this building is in use from 92 to 96 hours a week. And that's just probably even the regularly scheduled things, because I know we open our doors for some one-offers, one-times, where people might come in and do something and then leave. So isn't that wonderful? And the quilters, right? I could go on and on, but for the sake of time, I will not go on and on. So we're going to the next section, which is the Who Me. Would you like to speak to that portion for me?
I will take over.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. As you know, we have just finished our stewardship campaign, and this is where we are as of this past Friday. I've included everything we've received to date through all means. We have a total of 220 giving units that we can track in this congregation. We have received 139 responses, which is a 63% response rate. And if any of you were here last week, and remember, I had 65% up there last week. That was actually a typo. It should have been 62. So we've gone up from 62 to 63. So, yeah. But that is still the best percentage of returns that we have ever had. So we are really thankful for that. And something else that is noteworthy, 76% of those 105 giving units indicated an increase in their giving for the coming year. So that's going to help us quite a bit as we continue in our ministry. Yes, just a second. Yeah, so we can hear you on the live stream too.
When you say giving units, do you mean those are the people that returned versus how many membership units are there?
Do you, yeah, giving units are basically any family group that gives an offering. Okay, so it might be a single person, it might be a family. It's just a group that gives an offering. So, you know, you might be a giving unit yourself. A family of 4 would be one giving unit. Okay, does that make sense? Yes.
Well, a little more accurately, there are 220 who were active over the last year in giving. So this is
Yes.
tracking over the last year or beyond. I'm not sure how far we went. But
think we went back about
there
a
were
year.
approximately this many giving units, so households, you know, where a household can be 1, household can be 6, household can be 4, who were actively supporting the mission and ministry of the congregation over the past year.
Okay. Yes.
So
wanna
that
state the
is
question so we
a
can-
far more complicated question than you would think. Because total number in our database is something like 2,500 people. That's a little bit of a nonsense number because many of those we saw once or haven't seen or, you know, and in the life of a church, especially one as large as this congregation, the process of updating that is is an ongoing, constant thing we are currently working on. Active members, and then we have to talk about how do we define that, right? For comparison of congregations, the research says average Sunday attendance tends to be the most the best way to judge between them. Our average attendance is running, Tony has the exact figures for us, but it tends to be, we are trending toward upwards of 350. And because we get to include, we have the gift of being able to include folks who are joining us online. The total giving units that if we were to, so sort of active, I think would be around 500 to 600, but I would have to figure out that figure for you. Yeah.
Any other questions? Yes.
So here we're getting into definitions, right? And how do you define active is one of the issues, right? Because, and then we have in our Constitution 3 different categories of membership just for tracking statistics. Baptized membership, confirmed membership, voting membership. Voting membership in our Constitution that we get from the ELCA is defined as those who have partaken of communion, who have given a gift of record in the current or previous year, and are confirmed members. So those 3 things together, I believe when I ran statistics last, and I have to tweak this, was about 370. Because I think I remember that our quorum looks to be about 36. So it'll be about 360, 369, 70, something like that. But that then includes all the confirmed members of a household. So that would be one way to answer your question. But again, how do we define active? Because some of those members in my household includes folks who are away at college. So still considered a voting member because in part of our household, a giving unit that is actively supporting the mission and ministry. So be happy to talk more about this because it's complicated. That gives us some estimate there.
In this, please, so that our live stream folks can hear the question too.
Further clarification with voting members. I'm confirmed and have had communion, but I don't give, my parents give, but I'm a member of the giving unit. Am I
Yes.
a voting member?
Correct.
Thank you.
That is correct. I'd like to point out one thing here that if I'm going to emphasize what Heather said, the thing that we celebrate about this, and I think is the best thing for us, is actually this number right here. Not this one, but this one. This is being the biggest participation in intentional giving is a big thing, and that's what we are celebrating. We are thrilled to see that participation rate. And so thanks be to God for that.
Any other questions before we move on? Okay. Okay. Last week, folks seemed to want some more details, so we put some more details in. So for the results of our campaign, the income that we're expecting based on the responses of the statements of intent that we have received is $615,926, which is $15.95 per week increase over what we have seen this year. We also have recurring givers who did not turn in a statement of intent. Expecting those givers to continue as is, we assume that they will continue as they are set up until we have heard otherwise. So we can identify another $21,045 of people who did not turn in a statement of intent, but have an active, recurring giving transaction in our electronic giving system. And so that brings us to $636,971 that we feel pretty comfortable we are going to get. We also have a group of folks out there who did not turn in a statement of intent. They do not give electronically, but they are regular, faithful givers who have been giving according to a consistent pattern over a long period of time. And again, we feel pretty comfortable that we are going to see their patterns continued based on the fact that they have been giving according to this pattern for many, many years. We can identify another $201,086 from givers who are regular givers who did not return a statement of intent. We just are making a conservative estimate that they are going to continue as is. And that brings us to a total expected giving of $838,057. What we need for our budget is $968,195,000, which gives us a difference of $138. Any questions on that?
So we talked last week about different, thank you for this update, Heather. We talked last week about, so the question is, how do you forecast over the next year what offerings might be? And we identify Heather and I identified 4 different bands that we can do. And sort of, as she's laid them out here, this is our, of course, most dependable because people have said, yes, I want to be part of this and this is what I'm going to do. Second is folks that we know they already have this pattern. That's the second most dependable. The third is folks who have a pattern but might not be in our regular electronic giving. That's this one. The one that's missing, the fourth one, is unforecastable, and that's everything else, right? It's folks who are not in a pattern, who are not who maybe are not on a regular pattern of giving, but there is a fourth. Does that come up in your next one?
Yep.
Oh, there we go. I'm sorry. I should have sat down.
No, that's okay. As Pastor Tim said, that this is our fourth band. In addition to the giving that we can identify, we know that we will also get income from new members, people we haven't even met yet that will become part of our family over the coming year. We also get offerings from visitors and friends who may worship with us just a couple of times and then go back to their own congregations. And we may have additional fundraising opportunities that come up. For example, some of you may remember a couple of years ago when we needed a new roof, which is part of our budget as a capital expense. And we had a campaign called the Shingles Vaccine. to replace the roof. And, you know, that we can have additional fundraising opportunities like that that will just support one line item in the budget and raise money for the roof. Things like that might come up too, and it will give us additional funds.
Where do things like altar candles, wine, and all of those other things that people pay for fit into the budget?
So that is part of, and people always get confused about this. I've not found a better way to say it. We call it direct ministry support. We're going to buy wine for communion. We're going to buy the oil for the eternal lamp candles, things like that. Sometimes we have flowers at Easter. We're going to buy those things whether people support it or not. So that has to be in the budget. When people give money to support those things, we call that direct ministry support. So if you have money, say for flowers or for the altar candles, for wine, if you're giving to support those things, you will see that as an income line in the budget. So specifically for those things, you would see it as an income line in worship and music, or worship and the arts. Yep, it has a line item in the budget. Any other questions?
I have two. What percentage did the budget go up from last fiscal year to this one? And if we don't receive the 130,000, what's going to be missing?
I can tell you for, I don't know that I have an exact number for the budget as a whole. For our staff, which is the largest part of the budget, we are proposing a 4% salary increase. And there will be another slide on that a little later on. I don't know that we've actually looked at the budget as a whole, what it went up from last year. There are things that go up and things that go down. But as a whole, I would expect it to be close to that 4% number just because salaries and benefits, the cost of having a staff here, that is by far the largest part of our budget. Any other questions? Nobody? Okay. So, and as far as your next question, we'll get into that in here. This is another way of looking at what income we expect for the coming year. As you might guess, it's hard to forecast that fourth tier, that fourth band that we get. So we can look at it another way. And I'll thank Pastor Tim for this analysis here. So we took all of our giving for our fiscal year to date, and that goes from August 1st through March 31st. That's an 8-month window. And if we take that and annualize it, we get $580,098. Or sorry, the fiscal year is, annualized, it's $870,147. Okay, that's taking our 8 months and annualizing it out to 12 months. If we add in our expected increase in giving, according to the statements of intent that have been returned, we expect to receive $82,975 more than we received last year over the past year. That's our increase in giving. So that gives us a total expected giving for the 24-25 fiscal year of $953,122, which gets us a lot closer. It's important to remember this number here, this $580,098, that includes that fourth tier. That includes all of those people that we just have no way to track. All those folks who are our visitors and our friends who might just be coming here once or twice, all of our new folks, that captures that number. Okay, so we need $968,195 for our budget, and that leaves us with a difference of $15,073 or $290 a week, which is a lot closer. Any questions? Does that make sense? Okay. All righty. Well, let's move on then. Of course.
I did the math real quick, and to your question about differences in proposed budget versus last year versus this, it's about 3.6%. So she's right on, and yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so this is our staff. This is all the folks who work here and make everything happen this week. We have a core staff team of 8 people, plus we have Eddie and Tony, our building attendants, who are here all the time making sure people get in and out and find what they need. We have our nursery attendants. We also have a custodial staff who comes in. I don't have a picture of them, so I couldn't include them up there, but those are the people who make everything happen around here. And that is our biggest expense, is taking care of our staff. Oh dear, I should find a better picture. Okay. Prefer to be in the dark. All righty. So here is a history of our recent salary increases. And I am going to ask Kate if she wouldn't mind taking over here, because she can talk about this much better than I can.
Thanks, Heather. So as Heather mentioned kind of in the beginning here, one of the big parts of our budget that we're looking to change this year is an increase to our staff salary. So as you can see, it's been a rocky road for our staff for the last few years here. And just to give you a little bit of background, so I like to say in my real life, I am a compensation and benefits manager for a public sector company. And when I took on this role as treasurer and I looked at the salaries that we were offering for our team and I looked at the history of the salary increases, I was a little surprised because anyone that doesn't work in a nonprofit who would work for a public company would see a history of increases like this in any other business and would say, whoa. No one would ever stay for that, right? So when we talk about our team here at Christ Lutheran and we think about the staff that is our family and keeps the place running and has built the church into what it is, we know that these are individuals that we need to take care of. So when I'm looking at these numbers in the public sector, I'm thinking from 2022 to 2023, if we think about what has happened in the country from an economic standpoint, we understand that that does not reflect what has been going on in our economy. We also know that in the public sector, the average increases for everyone else went up from about 2.8 to 3% in 22 to 23, and from the 2023 annual budgets in public on average went up to about 3.5%. So we are significantly behind with 0%. As we can see here. So when we had this conversation on council, it was very apparent, I think, to everyone on here that this is a situation that we need to address and do the right thing. One thing that I'm asking for everyone to kind of keep in mind is that we know how changes in the economy have impacted our own families and our own finances, and we need to remember that even though we are a nonprofit and sometimes we don't think of them this way, our staff, they have families, they live in the same world we do. They have felt that hit as hard as we all have. So council has passed the budget with that 4% increase to our staff. And I just want to call out too that again, that staff, as Heather mentioned earlier, does not include the Little Lambs preschool. So I just want to pull them out of that equation there too, but it is all of the faces and shadows that you saw on the previous slide. It does include all of those individuals. It includes the direct, thank you. Oh, half of the director's salary. Okay, so thank you. So for the Little Lambs preschool, it includes half of the director's salary. but the rest of the teachers, the aides, those individuals are not included. Yes.
I just want to point out that of the 6 years quoted, the average annual increase is 1.6%? Like 1.16%? That's right. It's not enough. Thanks.
Thanks so much for pointing that out. I hadn't done that depressing math, but that also is not what we want to show people either. So, any questions about specifically the salary increases or our choice to move that forward? Okay. Back to you, Heather.
Okay, I will take us to the next slide. Okay, so this is our operating plan for the 24-25 school year. I do have some more detailed copies of that. If anybody would like to look at it in more detail, that is available. So for our budget, we are expecting, and we need $995,275. So our budget, based on the size of our congregation, is approaching $1 million. That's a lot of money we need to raise, but we expect to receive $968,195 in offerings. That's what we need to receive to make this budget work, and we think we can get there. We also expect to get another $27,080 in what we call that direct ministry support. That's congregation giving to the altar flowers or a capital project or something like that that is given for a specific line item in the budget. Our operating expenses, as I said, by far it's the green one there is ministry coordination and support. That is all the administrative stuff that goes into making this place run. That is our staff salaries. That is the copier, buying paper, things like that to make bulletins. That is all the administrative stuff that goes to making a church run. Our second biggest item in there is our facilities for ministry, and that's basically all of our property stuff. The biggest item in there is our mortgage. Our mortgage is $14,685 per month, which is about $172,000 and a little more than that a year. That is the biggest part of that. Our facilities budget would also include things like our custodial staff, any repairs and maintenance that we need to do on the building, utility bills, things like that are all those costs of making our building run is going to be about $342,059 is what we're budgeting.
When you say, like our custodial staff, they are not our employees, so they are not receiving that 4% increase, correct? Do we decide? I mean, how does that, do you know what I mean?
I do. Our custodial staff and our property manager are both independent contractors. They work for us, several hours. I think both of them work about 20 hours a week, if I remember correctly, for us. But they do also offer their services to others outside. So they are independent contractors. They can set their own rates, but historically and traditionally, we have offered to increase what we are paying them at the same rate that we are increasing for our salary. Yeah.
Really nice. It's real easy when you know the one person you're talking about is my man. But I just said, I am really proud. And I didn't know that, and I sit on council, so, hello. But I am proud of us. I just think way to go. And it's easy because I know Mylan, and we all know how valuable Mylan is. But that's just Mylan. We know, I mean, this place is well kept and it's clean, and and that's not true everywhere. I mean, I will, anyway, so bravo, and thank you for whoever does that historically, because that makes me proud. I'm sorry, did you want, oh.
Yep. Real quick, what's the balance on the mortgage ballpark if you don't have an exact number?
Boy, I could tell you exactly if I had my binder here, but I don't. It's around $1.9 million, I think. We're under 2. We're definitely under 2. And a couple years ago, we went over that point where we're now paying more principal every month than interest. So we're, yeah, but we are definitely under 2. Yeah, I don't remember precisely. Yeah.
How many years left are on the mortgage?
Let me see. Do you remember? I think it's about 10. I think. I don't remember if I don't think we had a 30-year mortgage. I think it was about a 20, it was a weird number. Like 25 or something, I think. Yeah. I can look that up, but I don't know off the top of my head. Oh, nuts. Well, let's see. Well, we get to look at a blue screen for a second. There we go. It's back. Okay. Any other questions on property? Yeah, we've also got our next biggest in our operating expenses is our mission, which is $86,500. That includes what we give to the synod. Some of you may know we tithe to the synod. The synod gets all of their funding from the congregations who send some of that money on to them. And we have chosen to be a tithing congregation, and we share 10% of our operating income, our unrestricted offerings, with the wider church to support that ministry. So, I mean, 10% of whatever we get, that's going to go right to the synod. That also includes our social ministry. There are 2 pieces of our social ministry budget. We have a monthly emphasis every month, and every month we give $1,200 from our budget to whatever that partner organization is. In addition to that $1,200, we ask for additional offerings from the congregation to support those ministries. And everything that you give to that social ministry is above and beyond that $1,200 that we give. So that's not one of those mission support or direct mission support items where you're supporting a line item in the budget. We're going to give them that $1,200 whether we get anything or not. And anything you give above that is above and beyond that $1,200 that we give those mission organizations. We usually wind up with somewhere around $2,000, $2,200 a month that we pass on to other organizations in this area that are doing some work to help some folks. Yeah, and our next biggest item is our worship budget, which is almost $19,000, $18,955, and that is basically just all of the direct costs of our worship experience. That would include buying music, buying altar flowers, buying communion bread or communion wine, things like that, just all the direct costs of making worship happen on Sunday morning. And our last one is formation. Formation has a budget less than $9,000. That is our Sunday school program, our adult Christian education offerings. We don't have a very big budget for that because a lot of that happens with volunteer efforts. We buy Sunday school curriculum, we support our adult education offerings, but a lot of that comes through just with the support of our volunteers. Okay. Any questions on that? Dana? Okay. There you go.
Where's the youth budget?
The youth budget is actually one that goes a couple of different places. So some of that is in ministry coordination and support. That would be Caitlin, because that is her job, is to be the youth director and to coordinate Circle and Fusion and mission trips and all of those different things. Some of that, it would be in the formation budget because we have confirmation. And any of those costs would be part of formation. And some of that is also in the mission budget because we go on mission trips. Part of what you'll be doing at youth gathering is mission work. So, you know, that all goes in our mission budget. So yours is kind of spread out over different things. It's not always a one-to-one comparison how our different ministry areas fit into these. We overlap a lot. Yeah, any other questions? Okay. So actually, we don't need that one. The showing you the impact of a 4% salary increase. So if we did not increase salaries, we would actually have a little bit of a decrease in our costs, and that's because of a decrease in our benefits rates. Because our benefits provider, Portico, is charging us a little bit less this year for our group life rates and for our disability rates. So we would actually wind up going down a little bit. With a 4% raise, it goes up to about 15,862 is what our difference would be. So that's not a whole awful lot to keep taking care of our staff there. Per week, I couldn't tell you. But I bet you're going to tell me in just a second here. I see a calculator. $305 a week. Really close to that $290 number that we saw a little bit ago, huh? Yep. And that is it. That's our budget. So, any other questions? We did.
Thank you for all the work on the budget. Secondly, I know we need to vote on this next week. I am not going to be here. Is there a way of proxy voting?
I will let Pastor take that.
Our constitution from the ELCA precludes proxy voting, but we do have online. We will be live streaming, and we have mechanisms in place where you can vote from online. Yep. So just watch for the link in email or through our website. And if you join in the live stream there, we will make sure that we have that way, and we have folks watching and stuff like that.
Anything else? Okay, I believe that we're supposed to wrap up with a prayer, correct? Shall we close
Let's close
out?
with the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art
All right, thank you, everybody. We look forward to seeing you next week. All right, yes, thank you. Thank you all.